Hey, happy Sunday, everybody. I'm your host, Rob, and today we are unboxing this. Now, I have been so busy in the last 2 weeks that I have not had the opportunity to open this up. And I didn't want to open it and then, fake opening it or anything like that. So the story goes, and I mentioned this in my last video, that I reached out to home shops and asked them if we could do some sort of a partnership together. And maybe, I could do some reviews on some of their products or something like that. And Chris Palmieri, the owner, I assume he's the owner, he said, yeah, sure, let's try it. I love your enthusiasm because I'm really nobody and he's a somebody. So that works for me. So hopefully this is going to turn out pretty good. This is the only video I've done probably in the last couple of years I'm just a little bit nervous about, just because I'm putting my best foot forward. I even, look at this, I even wore a collared shirt, So let's be safe. Let's get our handy knife out. Sharp too. And let's go ahead and figure out how to open it up without tearing anything up. I believe these are two brand new coil cars. And I also believe that one is Ohio Southern and one is Virginian and Ohio. And if you've watched any of my videos whatsoever, you know that I'm a huge V&O fan and I love fantasy railroads. Just been one of my things since I was a kid. I always thought it was really cool that somebody had the imagination to create a railroad that was very prototypically accurate in operations and look, and it was very believable. And that's the best thing, and that's the most important thing, is being very believable. All right. Hey, what a coincidence. I was going to talk about these here in just a minute. So when I do, I'll bring this back up. Hey, check, I got some stickers. Cool. I don't know if everybody gets stickers, but I feel special when I do. Pretty neat. And Georgia Bigfoot, I've heard of them guys. Look at Home Shop for Repair. And an official business card. That's awesome. Rob, thanks for reaching out. Looking forward to your review, Chris. That's pretty cool. What's that? Rob, you're an awesome dude. I really appreciate everything that you're about to do for my company. Well, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate what you're doing for me right now. They didn't say that. All right, so very well packed to begin with. That's always an important thing. I don't know how many times I've ordered something and the packing job was less than stellar and things were damaged. Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. Check that out. One of 56 produced exclusively for home shops by Intermountain Railway Company. So I said Tangent earlier, but Intermountain did these. Tangent did some of their previous cars, and that's awesome. That is pretty cool. And the Ohio Southern. That's pretty cool too. So, what do we open first? I believe that I'm going to go with the Virginian and Ohio first. Hey, look at that. I got it on the first try. So let's talk real quick about home shops. Okay? If you're interested in purchasing something from the home shops, go to homeshops.net. You can also find them on Facebook. Just go in there and do a search for home shops. And Chris participates in a lot of different groups. And you can find them all over the place because, besides just being a model railroader, a rail fan, and everything else, he's also a pretty smart entrepreneur by going and using Facebook to advertise this stuff with, by participating in these groups and sharing his product. Pretty cool. Pretty great idea. Okay, so Home Shops has been around since around March 2022. I couldn't find any information on them prior to that, and that was the creation of their social media pages and stuff like that. Let's see. They were featured in the March 2023 Model Railroad Craftsman for their Tangent V&O tank cars. And also read where he worked with Alan McClellan and Brad McClellan on the stenciling because they got some pretty cool stenciling, you know, routing and return to like Carlton shops or Jimtown or Ashton or something like that. So it's pretty cool. He was also featured on trains.com in November 2022 for the same cars. And they specialize so far in prototype, proto-fantasy type cars. So like Allegheny Midland, Virginia and Ohio, Ohio Southern, Arkansas Valley, I think was one. I'm hoping to see some Utah Belt in the future. But all these proto-fantasy model railroads have inspired tens of thousands of us modelers over the years. And to me, it's just really reflects highly upon the individual who has the ability and the imagination and the talent to create something that's not real and make it believable, whether it's in their modeling, whether it's the presentation of the locomotives, a realistic locomotive paint scheme, operations, and concept and history, because I think we've all written the history about our model railroad, and that's pretty cool. So that is great that Chris is doing this to maybe honor them, pay homage, or just the fact that you know, some of these you can't get decals for, so we can't make our own, so he's done it for us. Top quality models. So the Virginian and Ohio. If you don't know about the Virginian and Ohio, I'm going to ask you, where have you been since the 60s? Because Alan McClellan started this. Let me start off here. Alan McClellan started off with the Miami Valley model railroad, which I believe now the Miami Valley is a like a club, but Home Shops has also produced a Miami Valley boxcar in boxcar red with the Virginian and Ohio Herald, and I think that's pretty awesome. And I'd like to get a hold of one of those, so I gotta check into those and see when they're going to be available. And I hope I haven't missed it, because I think that's pretty neat. Comes with a couple coils / weights. Now, if you've ever purchased some of these cars, not these exact cars, but some cars come in some incredible packaging that takes a like some sort of a scientific degree to open up, but this is pretty simple. I like simple. Simple's the best. Why overthink a box? But I've seen people overthink a box. So, put on my reading glasses here, and we'll go to inspecting some details. Now, first thing I'm going to look at are these lift points. Now, I'm not going to like rough it up or anything, but when you can barely touch them and they bend, that's not a good thing. These don't do that, but there's some cheap cars out there that these break off all the time. I mean, just constantly. I've got, I don't know how many coil cars missing parts, and you know, there's some Walthers detail parts out there to replace them. But you know, I think I need like $100 worth to fix all my cars. But they're a little out of my era anyway, so it's more like Dwight's era, but I still got them running around. So the covers have separately applied railings, I guess you could call them, maybe grabs. Those are for the employee while they're, you know, working on top and moving down the sides of the cars, or railroad employees as well, so they can move from car to car or down the side of the car without getting on the ground. And these look pretty good. Pretty good. The stenciling looks pretty good. That's awesome. That is sharp. That's pretty sad when I'm getting to the age where I have to use reading glasses and a magnifying glass. But sometimes, you know, it is what it is. But sometimes you need that, because they can print some stuff so small now that you can't read it with the naked eye, but you zoom in on it and it looks incredible. And the graphics on this are incredible. I mean, incredible. And I really like it when I get a car that's packed well and there's no damage to it. That's one of the best feelings ever. But the worst feeling ever is when I break something on my own, which we're not going to do that today. All right, let's get to the car. So I'm going to talk to you about what I don't like already. I absolutely hate number 5 KD couplers. They're too big. And my preference is a KD 158 scale coupler that has the little whiskers on there. And this is just a number 5, which there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, you know, my personal preference is a 158. I don't know what the cost difference is between a 158 and a number 5, but it seems like a lot of cars come with a number 5. I guess that's probably so that you will go buy the 158s and upgrade. But I mean, it's all right. Nothing wrong. Better than plastic, whatever they are. I don't know what they are, McHenry's or something. And I hate the trip pin, so please cut the trip pin off unless you actually use them for uncoupling. I just hate the trip pin. I've seen so many models and so many scenes and so many photographs that were absolutely incredible. Just incredible scenes. I mean, I had to look at them 2 or 3 times to see if it was real. And then, you know, I see the trip pin, and that kind of blows it for me. But that's my thing. That's just a personal preference thing for me. And this is looking awesome. This is awesome. The brake rigging detail is incredible. Oh, that looks great. You got your airline for your brakes right here. You can track the piping back and around. It comes to about right in here behind the wheels and then stops. But if it was anywhere else, probably, holy crap, look at that. That is cool. So, okay, so here's your brake wheel, right? So when you put your handbrakes on, of course you're cranking it, and there's a weird looking little, what do I call it? It's like a lever or something like that, where the chain comes down and it wraps around through, and that's on here because that's what pulls the chain and pulls all this other stuff, all this other part of the apparatus, which is normally chain, and pulls it tight. That's pretty cool. I've never seen that on a car. That's pretty neat. The detail is phenomenal. All your walkways are see-through. I don't know if they're brass or plastic. I can't tell. But they look incredible. All right, every single bit of stenciling is crisp and sharp and looks great. And if I didn't have to put these dang glasses on, I could probably see them with my naked eye and they look just as good. But I mean, this is awesome. New 1967, if anybody's modeling that year and you want to get something like this and you think it's too new for your era, 1967 is it. Now, I believe these cars came out in like 62, 63, 64, but you know, of course, you know, when it's new, you hardly see them, but then a couple years later, you see them everywhere. But yeah, this is nice. Nice. Now let's see what it weighs. We'll see what it weighs without anything in there. So this part here weighs 1.5 ounces. That's pretty light. We'll add these here. Let's weigh these. These are 1.2 ounce weights. So we'll add 1.2 ounces here. And if you can get some more of these, you can add, you know, 2 more in there. And I don't really know how many steel coils would go on the prototype. When I was a conductor, all I ever saw was, you know, the cover on there or the cover off. I don't remember ever really seeing any in there. But I'm assuming since there's 4 slots, maybe you could get 4 of them in there of different sizes. But this is pretty neat. I like those. I think all my other coil cars, I've added about an ounce or 2 of weight in. Come on now. Don't want to break you. There we go. All right, all put together. Let's see. Okay, 3.9 ounces total. 3.9 ounces. And this car is, let's see. I'm going to measure from the car itself. I'm not going to measure the bolsters, but from tip to tip, so just over 7 inches, like 7 1/4 inches, which I think in MRA standards is 1 ounce plus a half ounce for every inch. So that would be around 4.5 ounces, if my math is right. I'm doing it in my head, so bear with me. I was in the Army, so you might have to double check that math. So roughly 4.5 ounces of what it should weigh by standards, and it weighs, you know, half an ounce less, which is still pretty close and still pretty good. That makes me happy. Now, all my cars on my layout are not in MRA standard, but I do know a lot of people who run smaller layouts with like a lot of switching, and their cars are like double the NMRA. My friend Dustin, he weighted, I don't know if he does it on his current layout, but on his old layout, he weighted his cars down. So they were heavy. I mean, you literally pick them up and that felt like a pound, but it was probably more like, you know, half a pound or something like that, you know, so 8 ounces. But I mean, they were very heavy. And when those metal wheels went over the metal frogs, I mean, they actually sounded, I mean, it sounded real, but at the same time, the tone was off. But it, you know, you got the effect of the wheel going over the joint. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to taking some photos of this and with some of my Virginian and Ohio locomotives. I think that's going to be pretty cool. So let me set this one off over here, and we'll grab that Ohio Southern. Now, the Ohio Southern is another very influential model railroad. It was begun in 1979 by Jim, see if I say his name right, Hediger? Jim Hediger, I believe, as I said. And if I remember right, it was based on the DT&I. So very similar concept between the two, the prototype and the model, or the model. And yes. Now, DT&I had a very storied history. It was once owned by the Pennsylvania Railroad. It was also owned prior to that by Henry Ford. Henry Ford planned to electrify the whole thing. And you can go to photos around like Toledo, I believe, and they had the big concrete arches that were supposed to hold the catenary. And it's pretty neat. But I ended up getting taken over by the Grand Trunk, and then Canadian National, and then now it's mostly a short line for what hasn't been abandoned. They had some pretty cool locomotives. They had some 284 Berkshires with 64-inch drivers, but they look pretty good. And it's a neat little railroad. So I don't think Jim ever had steam on his. I'm pretty sure it was all a pretty modern operation. And I really, it's one of the model railroads that I never, it wasn't like one of my favorites. It wasn't like I didn't like it. It just wasn't one of my favorites. But it's pretty cool. So in 2018, Jim tore it down when he sold his house. And it was a last look feature was in January of 2019. Model Railroader. So, and also I think it was the first double deck layout, or one of the first. But I think I read where it was the first double deck layout. And when I was doing a little bit of research for this, because I couldn't remember who was the modeler, who was the owner, and all that stuff, and so I had to go and Google it a little bit. And there's some videos out there of some operations and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So the railroad may not exist anymore in somebody's basement, but it's going to be around forever on YouTube, so that's pretty cool. So very same setup as the other car. The writing on the sides, all the stenciling is great. New 1968 if you're interested in the manufacture date. You know, I think in my last video I was talking about this car and or home shops, and that I was going to review this. I think I said Ohio Central instead of Ohio Southern, so let me correct myself. Yeah, this car is beautiful as well. Which, I mean, I'm sure they're the exact same car, just different paint, but the paint's crisp, and that's what really matters. And if you're one of those types that really want to get inside and weather the undercarriage here, there's a lot of good chain work right here that could get some rust on it. All this piping and stuff, would probably be pretty grimy. I never really climbed up underneath of the cars before. I think I forgot to mention on the other car that blackened metal wheels, and these should be 36-inch diameter wheels. and they're held in by a screw, and there's plenty of play in there, so it should roll along pretty good. Yeah, these are beautiful cars. Hey, Chris, if you're watching this, thank you for sending them. These are incredible. And I'm not saying that because he sent them to me, you know. I'm a no BS guy. If something's not quality, I'm gonna let you know something's not quality. You know, even if he did send it to me, but I probably would have said, hey man, you know, I got some issues with your cars. But Intermountain puts out some pretty good products. And I think I said Tangent earlier by mistake, but Chris has worked with Tangent in the past, so I misspoke, as a politician would say. Let's double check and make sure it weighs the same. That may sound silly because they're the same car, but believe it or not, I've seen a lot of discrepancies in weights and stuff like that. I don't know if that's a quality control issue or what the deal is, but I have seen it, so let's make sure, let's see the consistency in the manufacturing process. That one bounced up to 4 ounces, but it went back down to 3.9, so that's pretty cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. I am so excited about these cars. And I got some cool stickers too. That makes it even better. It makes it even better. So let's talk about some box cars here. They got some box cars. I'm not sure if these have come out yet, but I'm trying to read to see if it has come out yet. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold this up to the camera so you can see it. And this is some pretty quality special effects right here. So if you look right here by my thumb, that is a Miami Valley car that Home Shops has made to honor Alan McClellan and his very first layout. I love the idea that the V&O Herald is on there to show that maybe it was like a subsidiary. And then you got the good old V&O car, you know, right there in the very middle. Oh, I'm sorry, I said it backwards. This is your Miami Valley car. This is your Virginia and Ohio car. It's kind of hard to look at the screen, look at the card, make sure I'm not fidgeting around and everything else. You got some Virginia Midland right there. I can't see what that one is, but probably because I ain't got my reading glasses on. But man, these are some cool cars. And for everybody who has, you know, been out there over the years, buying decals and painting and stuff like that, that's great. But this saves us a lot of time. I mean, a whole lot of time. Well, these cars are by Atlas also, if you didn't notice that. And that's pretty cool too, because at least he's not going with the same company every single time. Everyone's getting in on the action, getting a little bit of love and all that. And that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put some of these cars up on the layout here, and I'm going to take some photos. I'll throw a couple here on the end of this. Check out my Instagram. It's HO Scale Model Trains 1221, and there'll be more photos of these cars on there in some very, I think, realistic scenery and stuff like that. So you'll see some of those coming up here really quick, probably tonight. Today's Sunday, so yeah, probably Sunday night. Never know, they might be posted yesterday since I'm filming this yesterday. Does that make sense? That's the Twilight Zone right there. Thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate everybody. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment, hit that notification bell. Go to homeshops.net and check them out. Go find them on Facebook. Show them some love. I don't think you're going to get a discount by telling them that, you know, you saw this video, but try it. I mean, you never know what he does. He seems like a real good guy. So if you do buy something, I'm sure there's a remarks column out there. Say, hey, I watched Rob on HO Scale Model Trains, and, you know, he loves your product. So you should love your product, or you should love his product as much as I love his product, and just as much as he loves his product. That's a whole lot of love there. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you.